the guard play, and I tweeted about it. The guard play in the bubble, especially. I mean, it's been going this way for years. But Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell are putting on an absolute show. An absolute show. And neither one of them was, Jamal Murray wasn't even viewed as a star entering the bubble. And this guy scores 50 points for the second time in 3 games, second time in the series. Over the last 3 games for Denver, Utah, he is averaging 47.3 points, shooting 64% from the field and 63% from Trey. And then on the other side, Donovan Mitchell went for, I believe, 44 himself. He's obviously put on the show at 57 in one of the games. And it just struck me. I had to tweet out, I'm the king of the "you kids just don't know" videos, but I had to give props to the youngsters. These young guards, I mean, we could throw in Damian Lillard. And you can go on and on. I mean, Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry. And I mean, the perimeter play, and I think there are a lot of reasons. And some of them are these guys' handles are better than ever. There's no question about that. A little bit, they let them carry some too. That helps.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean, I got to keep it real.
I once covered, if you could believe this, a Knicks Bulls playoff game where they called carry on Michael Jordan 3 times in one game.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Was he? He was a star from day one.
Yeah,
but was was he winning championships yet? And even so, I mean, that's incredible.
It was incredible.
That is incredible.
Because they all carry the ball. You know what I mean? So it was a playoff game. It was a playoff game at Madison Square Garden. It
was
always,
home cooking.
It always sticks with me, though. You know what I'm saying? Because the idea that you would call that on Michael Jordan like 3 times in one game was shocking.
No question. I mean, because guys carry the ball coming up court.
That's what I'm saying.
They palm it. They put their hand under the ball. And Rob, when we grew up, you learn how to dribble. You're supposed to keep your hand on top of the ball.
Right. And
who
was that?
Didn't even
Westbrook?
get to the side too much.
Who put it under his arm and walked across the half court line?
Yeah.
Remember that? He just didn't even think about it.
It's crazy. But my point is, and we can go even back. Look, Karis LeVert was putting on a show. Heck, TJ from the Indiana Pacers. TJ Warren. I couldn't even remember his name.
What's funny is all the people you're talking about are all at home or going home. They're at home.
I'm not saying they winning any championships.
I'm not saying that either. All I'm just saying is, isn't it weird that all those guys are either home or on their way home? That's the part that's strange. I get what you're saying. I mean, there's no denying.
When you see this, what is your thought?
I don't know if it's something with the bubble from the standpoint, Chris, of maybe for the first time, some guys are, and I'm not saying it's just them, but focused. There's nothing else going on. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no crowd noise. There's nothing else like to take away from your attention. And maybe you're spending more time on your craft. And there's not a lot of defense being played in the bubble either. So let's just be honest.
Well, I think the Lakers are playing really good defense in the playoffs.
But for the most part, I'm saying.
And the Clippers at times when they want to. But it's
for the most part.
Here's what I say, Rob. I just said one of them. The skills of these guys are fantastic. The ball handling is otherworldly. They got the step back 3. I mean, that was obviously not even a thing when I was coming up playing. When Michael Jordan even was playing. No, even more recently than that, nobody was doing step back jumpers. That's a heck of a move. And their shooting range is incredible. So I'll give these guards that. But I think there are a lot of other things that are contributing to them being, putting up these numbers. One of which, Rob, is there are very few bigs that score, that you have to give the ball to. You look at Magic Johnson's career.
No, that's true.
I'll
agree
dribbled
with
down,
that.
right? And he was always throwing the entry pass to the post player, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Because that's what you would do if you had a big man. You'd utilize them, and now that there's not, they have the ball in their hands all the time. There's nobody to really pass it off to, and they feel comfortable with just take the shot. And defensively, I'm just saying, they give you a little space. Everybody's not playing.
You can't hand check.
Because I can't touch you.
Right.
So I think that opens it up for you to be able to know that. And if I touch you, I'm going to the line, or at least there's a foul, or whatever it is. So that I think that allows you to, feel like you can put up shots like never before. And that's what they're doing. And that doesn't mean automatically you're going to make it. You know what I mean? But they have been, and it's been at a record pace.
You hit on several points. One, these guys have the ball in their hands a ton, much more than guards back in the day used to. Guards back in the day, Magic, Isaiah Thomas, the greats, they would come down and pass it. Whether it was into the post or on the wing, you pass it and you might cut through and go through. I remember Chauncey Billups told me once, this was maybe 8 years ago. It was right around after he retired. And he said, look, if I had the ball in my hands, if I dribbled it for 15 to 20 seconds, and then I either was going to take the shot or pass it to the guy that was going to take the shot, my numbers would be off the charts too. And that is a big part of it. A guy's dominating the ball. And that goes for LeBron and Luka and Westbrook and all. When one guy creates everything for his team, your numbers are going to be through the roof. I think you said it. You can't hand check, so you can't get physical. You talking about Jordan earlier. You could really try to move him with hand checking back in the day.
Big time. You could touch him, and that at least gives you something a little bit on defense. Here, if I can't even touch you or control you, Chris, and before, and I've seen the NBA with at first the hand, and then you had to use your elbow. It had to be bent. It went from the hand on your back to the elbow to nothing. We saw, and was it the Dwayne Wade coming out party when he took 1 million free throws in the finals? You remember that? When they couldn't, you couldn't touch him. Everything was a foul. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And now people know they have space and they're using it.
Well, and then that's the thing, space. With the floor spread, again, Rob, youngsters who watched The Last Dance were probably astounded at the way the game was focused around the paint. When Michael Jordan drove, when Dominique Wilkins drove to the basket, there were 6, 7 guys in the paint.
No doubt.
Right? And you just had to finish in traffic.
And
it wasn't like, we can't drive. You just had to finish in traffic.
And you felt it. Like, remember that? No layups. It would make you feel it if you were going in there. You saw the video on Last Dance of Michael Jordan getting pounded in the paint. Clobbered. And it was there were no flagrant fouls or anything. It wasn't like that. It was just a foul.
Right. And that was like, so now the floor is so spread, it makes it easier to get to the basket because teams, 1, they want to run you off the three-point line. 2, they can't touch you. And then 3, once you get into the paint, there may be 1 or 2 people there. And one of them might be your guy and one might be the defender. And then you just got to finish over that. So all of those things, I think, are conspiring.
But I'll say this still. I still would take, of all that and all the guards, Chris, and all the numbers they're putting up, the 3 teams that most people think have a shot to win are still the 3 teams, right? With the wings, I'm talking about Kawhi, LeBron, Giannis. They're not guard. It's not guard.
Right. Even
not
Boston,
one of them.
Jason Tatum's
right.
Their best
It's
player.
Tatum. Right? I mean, those are who you're talking about. It's not a guard. It's not these guys guards putting up big numbers. So while the game has changed, and even if you want to go back and say, well, what about Steph Curry? Steph Curry won his 1 championship. I'll give you that, Chris. But the other 2,
don't try to belittle. Look how
but the
you
other
said
2,
that. Steph Curry won a championship.
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that.
Say it slowly.
No.
Steph Curry won a championship.
Steph Curry won a championship,
and 73 games.
But then Kevin Durant came, another guy on the wing, knocked
They
him
would have
down.
won it. They would have won it without Durant.
No, they would not, because they choked down a 3-1 lead.
They would have won it without
They
Durant.
choked down a
Trust.
3-1 lead. That was
He did too.
He choked it down. No, not in the
But
finals.
I will give you that. I'd rather have a transcendent wing than a transcendent point guard. Because history's just proven there's only been 3 that led their teams to championship.
Isaiah Thomas.
Steph Curry, and remember Gus the Wizard Williams? Seattle?
With Seattle, when they
and
won
that was a
championship.
team, he was their best player, but they were very balanced. Had Dennis Johnson, Jack Sikma.
No, that was a really good team.
Yeah, they were a very balanced team. So he wasn't a superstar. But yeah, I'm with you on that. My thing, Rob, is this the golden era of guards? Even if they're not, and that's a good point. They're not necessarily going to win championships, but are they better necessarily than what they used to be, or are they just getting more opportunities? Because I filled out my All-NBA ballot, Rob. It got difficult to find forwards and bigs to put on my third team forwards were Chris Middleton. He was one of my third team forwards because it got that tight, or I got to find another forward to put on here. And so the guards are the ones doing most of the shooting, especially with his 3-point heavy and all that. So we want to hear from you guys. 877-99 on Fox. We are seeing some tremendous guard play, not only in the bubble, but obviously in this this era of NBA basketball, whether Steph Curry, Jamal Murray, Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell. Guards are just putting up incredible numbers, doing incredible things. But is it because they're that great, or is it because of the style of play today? Your turn to weigh in. 877-99 on Fox. I expect to hear from a lot of millennials. Let's hear what you say.
All right, Josh in D.C., you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Josh?
Hey, how you guys doing, man? Love the show like always.
Thank you, bro.
buddy.
Always. But yes, millennial, but I really do believe it is a golden age because we've all been to basketball practice. We've all been to all kinds of practice, but I have friends that practice free throws just as much as me, but they'll never be a better shooter than I am. I mean, these guys are just flat out talented. The fact that they're shooting and not just rimming in, but these guys are hitting nothing but laces all the time in contested hands. I mean, the fluidity of it, everything of it, man, it's really something great to see. Just like you said, Chris, these guys are putting up 50-something points, shooting over 60%. I mean, on your best day, people with bad mechanics have nothing, can't do none of that stuff. So I really do think we're seeing something brand new now. Thank you.
No, it's real. I remember the All-Star game. I think this, Rob, was the year. Yeah, this would have been like the 97 All-Star game. You were probably there when it was in Cleveland. Remember they had the 50 best player of all time, right?
I had there was a big poster they gave out. I remember. I have that down in my
with the 50 best players.
Yeah, down in my basement. Yep.
They at one of the events, it was a practice or something. They had some of the best 3-point shooters in the league shooting. It wasn't like on TV or anything like that. I didn't even remember why they were doing it, but Mitch Richmond, Bobby Phil, some of the great 3-pointers shooters at that time were shooting from the hash mark, right? And they were like launching it, like they weren't shooting it like a normal jumper. They were like stretching to launch the shot, like because it was so far out. Guys just weren't used to shooting that far out, and they weren't hitting many of them. And nowadays, they shoot that shot effortlessly.
Did you used to see Rasheed Wallace when he warmed up? He was incredible, and I got to watch him a lot, obviously, when he played in Detroit and they won that championship in 2004. But the last shots he would take in his warm-up, Chris, he'd have a basketball in each hand. Did you ever see this at half court? At a ball in each hand, righty and lefty. Familiar. And launch both of them, and they would go in, boom, boom. Yes, it was incredible from half court.
I was Rasheed. We're gonna get him on the show. I was on his podcast last week. Him and Bonzi Wells. Let's get technical.
Okay.
Rasheed said to tell you hello.
All right,
because he
great.
remembered you from Detroit. So yeah, we'll get him and Bonzi later on the show. But yeah,
I think Rasheed was the first radio show he ever did an interview on was mine.
yeah, because he wasn't
He
fond
didn't do
of
any
the press.
media.
Right,
No.
right. But yeah, and another thing is these guys are great at the drive and kick and the high pick and roll and all that. They don't have to do what other point guards did back in the day, learn how to make the entry pass and things like that. But go ahead, let's move on.
All right, so that was who was our last guy? Okay, yep, Colton in New Mexico. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio.
How you gentlemen doing this evening?
Doing great.
How are you?
I could complain. No one cares.
You're right about that.
So, I think it's a little bit it's a good mixture of both, to where the pioneers of the position kind of slowly but surely from, Oscar Robinson, Magic Johnson, to Jordan, to, AI, to Nash, to where we are now, made it so that the game had to change so these guys can be so good, and so that they don't have to use the paint as much and they can go outside the arc and show off their handling skills, their shooting skills.
But does it bother you? But does it bother you at all that the teams we think have a shot to win the championship, it's not with those guards, it's with wing players?
No, absolutely
why is
not.
that?
Because if they're good enough to get to that level, it's about time that they can shine and show off. Hey, yeah, I may only be, a wing guy, but I got here for a reason. Let me show you why. It doesn't bother me at all.
I think part of it too,
Thanks for
Rob,
the
may
call.
be that the wing guys you mentioned, LeBron, Kawhi,
And Giannis.
they're all two-way
And
players. Now,
Tate-
LeBron's a little older, so he's not as much, as he used to be. But they're two-way players. None of these little guards we mentioned, and some of it's just their size, whatever, but they're not really two-way players. Right?
Right.
Lillard, Mitchell, Murray. They're
Just
not
shooters.
really two. Yeah, they're scorers and shooters and all that. And so I think that has something to do with it as well, Rob.